Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. I am joined by a special guest today. We've got Fateless in the house. Dude, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been great hanging out with you this morning, and I'm ready to talk some more Raid.
Cool. So we just done a video actually on Fateless' channel. I'm going to link that down below. Make sure you go and sub to him and give him some love. But I guess today, I've done a recent free-to-play challenge where I started a brand new account, played it for a good 3 months solid, hardcore. And I know, Fateless, you've come back to Raid. You're actually one of the OGs in Raid in terms of 6 years ago you started to play this game. But basically you've come back to the game as well. So I thought it'd be really interesting just to look at how does the game compare today versus when it first launched? And what's that kind of like new player experience like? But also flip it on its head and say, what's someone who's played the game for 6 years feel like now? So I guess, kick it over to you. Your initial sort of feel versus this kind of like new account feel. I don't know. How are you coming back to Raid, I guess?
Yeah, definitely a lot to discuss there. I think a good place to start is I started playing Raid, I think end of October, beginning of November 2019, which is pretty cool timing because that's right when there were Hell Hades videos. So I feel like we lined up there pretty well. So I'm playing while watching you, and I've seen the U grow, I've seen the game grow, and it's all so different. We were just talking about that in the other video, but it's really night and day, right?
Just on that. How long did you play for before you basically went on to other things? I know you went on to play Watcher of Realms and a few other games, but how long were you playing for before you kind of decided, I'm just gonna leave Raid for a while?
Well, that's the funny thing. I never decided, and also I never left Raid for something else. People think I jumped from Raid to Watcher of Realms. I didn't start playing Watcher of Realms until a year and a half after I stopped playing Raid. Funny enough, I stopped playing Raid the very, very beginning of 2023. So I played, and I took only one short break in there. I started Raid as a pay-to-win player. I spent $2,700, and once do you remember this? You would remember, Hell Hades. I think it was probably April or May 2020 during COVID. Someone's like, if you type in this URL and then put your Raid ID at the end, it tells you how much.
I do remember. Yeah. So I never did that because I was scared to do that, honestly.
I'm glad I did. It changed my relationship to these games forever. Raid's the first game of this genre I ever got super into and loved. And it was COVID, and I think this was probably a lot of Raid's success and how they made so much money at the beginning. It was well, it's COVID, and I thought I'd be in business school, going out all the time on the weekends, and instead I was studying in my dorm room and having no life. So I'm what's $100? What's $20? What's $10? I was buying that $3 mini mix pack every day that they used to have. It's a bit different now, and it added up in an unbelievable way. So I was I spent 20. I wasn't not like I had money. I was a student. And I spent $2,700 in 6 months, and I was I think I should stop playing this game. So I did.
That's interesting, yeah. And was that the catalyst to stop for you, or did you just kind of just move on to something else? You weren't even really thinking about stopping the game.
So funny enough, that was very early on into playing Raid. So that was July 2020 or something like that,
right? Okay.
June, and I left Raid for 3 months, and I came back and I was full free to play ever since until the new channel now. But then from that returns, September, October 2020, I played totally straight through for another 2.5 years.
But totally free to play at that point.
Totally free to play, and I only I'm only spending now on my new channel, and very transparently, and I'm a sponsored channel, so I want to keep the content good, and you got to spend a little in Raid.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, we were talking just before sort of came on to record. It's so difficult. You've also you're working with someone else where you have your normal account, but then you also got I guess a pay to win account basically, right? So you got almost a heavy pay to win, but still a new account. So it's not like you've gone and bought,
it's actually a really, we can go down that line of thinking too. It's a really unique situation because he started his account because he was a fan of mine, a viewer of mine, right? So we started at the same time. We started on the same day. So it's pretty crazy to see. We have my account where I call it balling on a budget with a very tight but fairly solid $150 a month budget. And we have the other account where I won't say the number, but it is,
high.
many times that. So it's pretty cool.
This is maybe an interesting comparison then, because
it is.
Yeah, how far advanced is your account versus where you have a I mean, still, it's still actually a lot. You say $150 a month, still a decent amount to spend on a game a month, right? So, but
Outside of
anyway, like
raid, it's an incredible amount of money.
yeah. Like, this is it. Like sometimes you have to check yourself because you think if someone said to me, "Will you buy this play?" I don't play PlayStation anymore, but will you buy this PlayStation game for $150? I'd be like, "No, are you crazy? I'd never spend that much on a game." But then happily, I'm just like, "Oh, there's $300 this weekend for some shards in raid." It's just such a weird experience on these games, honestly. But anyway, massive tangent. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know like how's the experience between your account and then this other account that you're kind of like playing alongside someone where they're throwing a bunch of cash at it.
Yeah. So huge shout out to Larry, Larry Lord Gary,
Yeah,
as he
Larry,
goes
good man.
by. Yeah, because he's obviously I haven't put a penny into the account. It's very much his baby, and then we're friends, and he's like, yeah, you wanted to use it for content and run it with me, so I do like live arena, and I've been making some content with it on the side as well. A lot more
Yeah,
stuff to come. But I mean, it is beyond night and day. It's like different planets, right? So my account, I think I'm doing pretty dang well. I'm trying to get Lydia within like 5 or 6 months.
sure.
Um,
Which
progress
is
through
cool.
most
It's good
normal
progression. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, progressing in most normal stuff. I'm trying to make some headway in the hard cursed city, but that's a huge, enormous challenge. So that's pretty tough. And then I'd say the other thing is I think next rotation probably will be my first hard Doom Tower. I haven't got hard
Okay.
Doom Tower yet.
So 6 months
This
in,
one,
basically
yeah,
taking down, coming towards
yeah.
late
So
game content, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. To me, it feels like I'm somewhere in this mid game. But lots of stuff to go. I've got like my 7, 8 well built champs, and I'm kind of stuck, but doing my best. Larry's account has every PVE thing beaten, full stop, without exception.
Right.
And at this point, it's just like, can we get the absolute max every Hydra Clash, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
count is ungodly. We in PvP we can feel it, though we are still not at the top, so we kind of destroy everyone. But I know I'm gonna feel it because like watching Cruisen or Big Papa Drock or something like that, I know it's coming. But like we're not gonna be able. We were just talking about this before, like getting that merciless gear or something, or the supersonic, lethal. You've been when did Doom Tower come out? Hades, like 2020. So
Yeah. That's
you've
it.
been
I've been
farming.
farming for literally
Yeah,
years at this point, and still,
you've had.
unless you got lucky with good rolls, it's still quite hard to build multiple champions in good lethal gear
Totally.
or merciless gear or whatever. Like that stuff is you can't just wail out and get that. It's
Exactly.
difficult. It's
So
time. Yeah.
you've got like, I guess it would be at least 18 like maxed out lethal farms under your belt, and we just finished our
Yeah.
first one, like literally our
Sure.
first. So stuff like that's going to be a gate, but it's shocking how good our non-gated gear is. Especially we've basically put everything for like artifacts into dragon, and yeah, it's like we have endless quad speed rolls on that account. It's kind of
Have
nuts
you
just because
really?
we're
That's
farming.
interesting as well because I
Yeah,
don't have any. I mean,
endless is a stretch.
well, but even like to have any in a few months is mental, honestly. Like
It's
it's
unbelievable. Yeah, I
yeah,
couldn't believe
that's crazy.
we did.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
no, I was just say like because I think maybe I've got one on my account in
Yeah.
all the time I played raid in terms of a speed set with a quad roll of speed.
Yeah. Well, I will say in your defense, like first off, the amount of money in this account, and then it's nonstop farming. Like if with when we want to do it, which is
Yeah,
most of the time. But also, like when we started playing Raid in 2019, 2020, maybe it was 2021, they added like the raid ups on sets, but that wasn't a thing,
yeah,
right? And that was probably a lot of your heaviest farming, I would think, at the beginning.
yeah.
So
True, true.
the difference between farming dragon when there's no rate up and basically the only thing you want is speed versus a 3x is, it's just 3 times the energy you need,
Sure.
right? So I've
That's,
I've
that's
I've, I've been
interesting that you.
top.
Do you know what the fastest build you could do right now is on that account?
um I've never tried for pure speed because I still want the accuracy, but our Armand's is at like 430 with like 600
Damn,
accuracy.
that's that's fucking mental, actually.
The Armand's build is unbelievable. It's kind of crazy. Larry and I officially partnered like a month ago, but we had been
Yeah,
talking for like 2 months before that, so like 3 months ago. And one thing I was like, the first thing we did, I hopped on, I got his hard 10 on a pretty fast farm, like at 50 seconds with what he had at the time, which was kind of crazy because it was like day 60.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then he leveled that up to where he's got whatever his 25, 28 second farm. And I was like, you should just, whenever there's a rate up 2x or 3x on speed, you should do it. And he basically does it every waking second. that he can run on his phone. So it blew my mind when he showed me the build he had prepared, which I barely refined. I was
Yeah.
like, this is unbelievable. I mean, I get if you want to talk about how the game's changed, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
stats that are achievable. Like I remember getting my first 300 speed unit. It was towards the end of raid for me when I like back in 2022. That's how long it was. I'd played that account for like 2 years or something,
Yeah.
and it was a big deal. But now, enter the faction guardians, enter those that had just arrived. But like faction guardians, all the enhancement you can do, all the crazy sets with new contributions. I mean, this, that, and the other. The speed, the blessings, the way it all adds up is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
relics. There's just so many ways now to push power. It's
Yeah,
like, so
relics
I
are amazing.
remember when they first launched Arbiter, and obviously you got the mission track that you had to do to get that. I was in the top, well, not top, but one of the first people to get Arbiter, and also it was around the same time that they launched 6-star gear. So to even get one set of 6-star speed boots was
Yeah,
like gold dust, and that was a big difference in those days. There wasn't any sort of gear ascension, so that 45 speed versus 40, I had one of the quickest arbiters in the game, and I could pretty much win in arena at my choice. But it's crazy even to think about how different the game is now compared to then. From
well,
from
and do you
someone who's
remember
played
how
a
fast
lot.
that arbiter was?
Ah, God, I'm not sure. With
Well, for
6-star
perspective,
gear,
I remember
probably something like 300. Honestly, like 300 was hard to
exactly, yeah.
break, right? It was tough to break a 300 speed.
I
Um,
wish I could remember who it was. It must have been a clan mate or a clan leader or someone, when I did like a little bit of content in 2021, maybe a commenter, but someone told me they had like a 330 speed Sifi. That still
mm,
sticks in my head. And I'm
yeah,
like, 330 speed. And now it's like, you can build a 300 speed character. In like, I'm doing it right now on my
yeah,
account, which is
yeah,
crazy, my normal account. So that's probably the biggest thing. And then, yeah, when you throw in the enhancement stuff too, I mean, I'd say the biggest shock coming back, right? Because this was my first new player experience since all this stuff has become so here and commonplace and crazy. Was like, I remember my first Ultimate Nightmare clan boss team way back in the day being like,
yeah,
I got to get all these guys to like 220 accuracy. That's crazy. Like, should I run an
yeah,
accuracy lead? And now it's like my Alice, the first DPS build I ever made on her, because we didn't have souls and stuff. But then I come back, I get Alice, I get the 5-star soul with the plus 75 and all this stuff. I
yeah.
got very lucky and I pulled the feral accuracy banner that was 6-star with accuracy as the enhancement, right? And there's a solo feral piece. I say this just because I did a DPS build. I didn't put anything into accuracy, and my Alice had 400 accuracy. This was on like day 55 of my account.
Yeah, it's
That would
mental, man.
I would
It's
have
so
never believed
different,
it. Never
and
believed it was possible.
because that's it. It's not just obviously things like the ascension and the star ups and stuff, but also just generally the gear sets. They give you a lot more than they used to. So one piece of feral on is just huge. One piece of pinpoint is big. Like there's a lot of ways to just kind of like push stats outside of what we used to have to do. So
Absolutely.
one of the things that I found though, so coming back as a free to player this year, I think Raid from a new player experience did drop some cool stuff. I think they put
Absolutely.
in that kind of like that path for, I think it was the apprentice path, maybe. I think that might be what it was called, where you kind of like getting a load of power ups for your starter hero, and you're able to 6-star them a lot quicker, and then they get some decent stuff once they're 6-starred. They gave you like a chunk of silver, albeit as we spoke about on your video on your channel, you eat through that silver still incredibly fast. The fact that they give you like something like 7 mil off the bat, and you're still a month in thinking, where's all the
That's a
silver?
really good
Like, or
point.
less than
Yeah.
that.
I was
But
shocked how quickly that disappeared. And I was like, I'm gonna
yeah,
bleed this last. Nope.
yeah. I was really like, they did that, and I was like, oh wow, they've really changed the way a new player can play this game. I was like, I wonder if we're going to get like bundles every week or month or something as like the new player, or additional bundles when you hit certain levels of like silver drops. It was like this silver cash, but no, it doesn't come anymore. But
Such a
they
good idea
are.
though.
Yeah, I mean they should,
I like that.
because the new player experience is tough. I mean, I was saying on my free to play series, if I was going to change just one thing, I would allow people to just freely move gear, like for the first at least month, but probably for the first 3 months. Just let people play the
Absolutely.
game, make decisions, make choices, move stuff around, understand what different gear sets do, without being this like having this like heavy cost involved to it. Because the amount of times you just think, well, I want to do that, I want to try that, but it's way too expensive if it fails. It's just not possible to do.
The crazy thing is, that's what you're saying as like Hell Hades guide maker of Raid. That's the experience I had as someone that makes content and has played Raid aggressively for years. The first thought I had coming back was, why don't I have a free gear removal period?
Yeah.
Whether it be 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 3 months, whatever. Imagine what the experience is like for this is your first gacha game, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's crazy, and it's like you want to teach people the game so they get hooked on the game. That was I streamed like every day my first week back in the game a couple months ago now, and I ranted and raved about that. I was like, this is crazy. It's like, how are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to figure any of this out?
Yeah, for sure. And this is it. Like you say, we were doing it on like challenge mode, but I mean, for most players, when they don't understand the game yet, it's like incredibly difficult to do. It's incredibly difficult to manage. I was just curious, by the way. I was just going to look at my Sifi, who's in my fastest gear that I own.
That's pretty fast, though, 420.
But it's 420 as someone who's played the game for 6 years, a lot. Like, I've played this game a lot. And, when I go into content now, so when I'm in like end game content, and Siege is a really good example. Damn, I just get pulverized against people of my level. Like it just shows really like how many people have played this game a ton and have got really, really strong accounts. And there's so many mechanics now which are super tough to deal with. Like it's I don't know, man. It's a minefield, I think, for even as an experienced player. It's a minefield for me to deal with a lot of the mechanics. And I just wonder, like, for someone who's coming in fresh into this game who wants to be like competitive, take Larry, I guess, as an example, that perhaps want to come in and be competitive in things they enjoy. Maybe that's PvP, or maybe it's not. But I don't know. Do you feel like there's too much to understand and get within this game now, or do you think they've got a pretty decent balance of it?
Larry's actually talked to me about this a bunch because he handles all the PvE stuff. Like, I'll give him a little advice here and there, but at this point, like, I've never fought Amius, and like he's conquered it, so like he knows a lot more about certain things than I do.
Sure.
He's played a ton of games, so he's pretty good at it. But I think he did say it was an enormous shock coming in, the level of different complexity. Not even that like Raid is more complex than like Watch of Realms, which is the game he was playing before. In many ways it is, but just the way it was like different, and the way you just like, it was like you're kind of thrown to the wolves with it. And he like spent his way and researched his way out of it. But I think it's pretty unbelievable. And I would love to know what like the new free to play low spender experience is like for someone that like is actually new and like isn't watching content. Like, maybe is, like, pretty good at games,
just coming in as a fresh player.
Yeah, thinking like with a doe-eyed, ready to go, because it's pretty remarkable. I mean, even coming back, I didn't even know 9-piece sets were a thing until I logged in. People were telling me, I'd heard about mythical champs, which was crazy to me, but I didn't know 9-pieces were a thing, and I certainly didn't know there was 1-piece set bonuses that would give you 40 accuracy. Like, that might sound normal to many people that are like deep in Raid now, but as someone who like had a solid 2 years off, just about, and coming back, and I'm like, I used to sweat, like, do I do this accuracy set or do I do these broken set? And then it's just like, pop on one accessory, you're done,
I mean,
that's crazy.
To talk to that point, you've then got things like relics which kind of do the same. I mean, there's a number of ways to do the same thing, basically, which is just huge stat boost. It's whether it's a relic which gives you kind of like a base stat which you can then power up. I was just trying to find one which got accuracy as like a first level. So just for a rare relic which you don't really even care about the active ability, so that's another 28 accuracy you're just going to throw on someone without doing any sort of work. And I don't know, man. It's I feel like there's so many ways to pump stat growth. If I find like a +4 dude, like a Rotus here, who for me is +4, 5-star blessing, with a relic, with empowerment, like with faction guardians, all these different ways.
Those things from after masteries, all those things didn't exist, and like look at that contribution, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's just, it's crazy how much more you can kind of pump onto a champ. But I don't know, man. I guess the game had to keep evolving. They have to keep doing something fresh.
Well, we can talk about it as a positive, right? The game's so much easier at the start. It doesn't feel that way if you're new, but having started many accounts and then had this break and coming back, I can't believe how strong my champs were after 2 months of
Yeah,
active play, you know? I
yeah,
think that's pretty remarkable. Like hitting these goals is a lot easier. So I think though this is going to make the experience harder for some players later on, it makes it really easy in the beginning. You're accomplishing stats like I think if you have a good starter champion like Alice, or even if you just go all in
yeah.
on
Those
your
free
Carol,
legendaries, they make a
yeah,
huge difference, actually. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And then what you're able to throw at them, like with the gear, and then if you do have a login champ that's good, like Alice, you get a the 5-star blessing changed everything. Getting Brimstone and a
yeah,
5-star blessing, it opens the whole game up. Like I was my big goal of my when I made raid content originally, the first time I ever made content was 2021. I was like from February to December, and my goal was to get Lydia in under a year.
yeah,
But this was before all of these other additional stats. Like I think during that time they just introduced blessings. I think it was right after I got her that they introduced enhancements. So these things weren't available to us, and it felt like a huge accomplishment that I did it.
mm.
I got her in like 11 months and some amount of days. Right now, if someone told me they were like a content creator grinding a free to play series and it took them 11 months to get Lydia, I'd be like, "What are we
Yeah,
doing?
definitely.
You
Yeah,
take a lot of days
yeah.
off?" Like, um,
It's interesting. So the free to play series, obviously, we've done it 3 years on the bounce now. Brand new accounts, 1st of January, basically playing for a few months, and yeah, I mean, it's noticeable how much more you get done each time. So yeah, they're definitely making it more and more achievable to get stuff done for a new player, and that feels good. I think that feels good that you're able to progress. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I guess to round things off, what's been like the best experience for you coming back, and
yeah.
what's been the worst experience?
I can answer that with the same. Well, actually, no. I'll give you an example from this morning for the worst. Let's start with that. They
Yeah,
still do their insane things, like penalizing you for not adhering to every insane calculated time sinky rule. So like I was farming up dungeon divers last night at like 3 a.m. and of course I fell asleep. I woke up and my farming was done. I was good, but the event ended and I couldn't claim the prism crystals. The fact that
oh
that's
man,
still a thing in raid in the year of our Lord 2025, this kind of like whip you into shape, like manipulative moments, like oh you weren't a good enough boy, knowing exactly what can get
the
expired
time.
awards, what
Yeah,
goes to
yeah,
mailbox, what doesn't. You need to give us every second of your time. Every other game I play, the events end after X number of days at game reset, and this one ends at 11 p.m. for me. This one at 2 a.m. This one at 5 a.m.
sure.
I just can't deal with it, and it's clearly just to keep you flustered and sucked into the game and stuck. And if I was yeah, like it tortures me. A good example of that also is I had a fusion towards the very end of my last time playing raid before I came back. It was the Opardine Clanfather fusion, and I
Yeah,
realized at like the last second I forgot to. This is like my least favorite raid moment. I forgot to do enough mystery shards to get the last whatever for the fusion. And I know
brutal.
Clanfather's not that bad now, but he sucks. He sucked back then, but it's just the completionist in me. And I was driving home from a friend's house at like 2 a.m. I pulled over on the side of the road and I was like ripping shards and I didn't get it in time. And I felt like a tremendous disappointment. For that's maybe my own things I need to work
I
through.
do just on that one. I do think that has got to be a reasonably high like reason that people churn out of the game, or
For sure.
basically, or this style of game anyway. I think it's not just raid; it's other games do the same type of stuff. But when you have that real kind of like I'm working hard for 2 weeks on something, or for a week and a half, or whatever it is,
That one
and
thing.
then you get this one thing, and I think it's enough to piss people off to leave, or at least to leave for
Yeah.
a period of time, and then maybe they'll reappear. I think a lot of people
I
come
think what
back
it
to it
is
after a cool off, but
the game's really good at demanding your time, and when you're loving it you're so happy to give it, but then it reaches a point where it just squeezes you out.
mm,
So like I said, I never quit raid, but one day I realized I hadn't logged in a couple months. That's just kind of how it happened for me, like beginning of 2023, and it probably was experiences like that. But if we want to focus on the positive,
yeah,
um let me well, last negative. The first like 2-3 days in the game are horrible, and you probably know that better than anyone hosting your challenge. Like I don't even call it the early game. Like the newbie game is a true disaster, I think. Trying to get through that and like the amount of time it takes and the grinding. But the early game I thought was a home run. Like I had so much fun. I was like, raid's as good as I remembered it. Maybe it's better. I love this. I can't.
yeah.
It's so fun to be back. I wish they gave us more shards to pull along the way, or more ways to get epics or something. But it was so fun. Like having Alice working for the blessing those first 3 weeks, just destroying content. Like I beat Dragon 20 on day 23 or something, which might not sound that
Yeah,
good.
right.
But it
Yeah.
was crazy to me. Like that was the hardest thing for me to do on my when I did my first big free to play account. And then yeah, I was on to like Dragon Hard 6 like day 30 or something, like or Hard 3, something like that. I might be overdoing it, but some hard level, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
crazy, right? And it's so cool. They
And,
got
and,
and the
and
other
it's
thing
fun,
they
right?
didn't
So
have, sorry.
yeah, sorry, that and when I did the free to play, that kind of like progression through dungeons, through Doom Tower, through Clan Boss, those first month to 2 months is super fun. Like
So
there's lots
exciting.
going on. You want to be involved. You want to be jumping into all the content you can because everything's a challenge. Yeah, like it's a good
Yeah, you have
experience.
progress every day. You like crack it in a new way. Like if they could just the first month, if they could have free gear removal, it'd
Yeah,
be so fun, you know? And I'd say that's the other thing I've loved, though I hate that it's not there more. The free gear removal, like the amount of progress you can make in Faction Wars. I hosted like this mini Faction Wars challenge, and people picked, and when they did like the 2 week free removal,
right.
people picking up 300, 400 stars in 2 weeks. It's
Oh, okay.
crazy, right?
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
that was so cool. Or like imagine if you're a new player, you're like, oh, I'm bad at Force Affinity. You can just swap your stuff for a minute, and then you're on to the good affinities again. I think those are really cool things they have in the game now that I wish were there more. But all in all, I do people that say like, oh, Raid's so much greedier, it's so much worse. That is like at someone that's done it at many moments, that's the hottest lie. I'm not saying it isn't those things, but to say it's more and not less is crazy, at
yeah.
least for new players. Cause like, you know, you have a promo code, I have a promo code. I started like by day 2 with like Rector Drath, Tagore, Corrado, Alice, Kale, Sun Wukong. I mean, it just goes on and on, right? It's like
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
would take me that would take me 100 days, 200 days to get that originally. So it was night and day. It was very fun at the beginning.
That's cool to hear. Well, I guess, dude, thanks for coming onto the channel and kind of like sharing your experience. It's really interesting. Every time I start a free to play, I re-find my love for the game, and then I go through phases of kind of like, damn, the late game is a grind. But then I also find that sometimes they drop stuff, and I'm like, it's fun again. So I go through this kind of like roller coaster now as a 6-year kind of vet of playing this game, I guess. And it's really interesting how people come on and kind of like talk about their experience both from before, but also, you know, more recently. So yeah, thanks for doing that, man. Do you have any sort of final words before we close off?
No, it's just a pleasure. Really nice to hang out with you this morning. It was really great to film the other video as well. And yeah, it's cool. You know, obviously talking to you is like you're a great raid player, a great creator, but also just someone that's kind of been through it with these games the same amount of time. It's just
Yeah.
I love connecting with people in that way. So it's been nice to ping pong back and forth and have a chat about
Yeah, for
raid and
sure, man.
everything. Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, don't forget to go and check out the other video down below on Fastidious's channel. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.